Hello everyone, welcome to Jules Reads. I am Jules, and if you're new here and you love to read and hear about books, I would love for you to subscribe, and if you like this video, please consider liking it below. So this is my 2023 favorite books that I have read. Now these didn't necessarily come out in 2023, but they are the ones that are my favorites for 2023, and they're not necessarily the best books written, they're just my personal favorites. So let's get started. I have 8 books to talk to you about, and these are in no particular order. I cannot pick a favorite. So let's get started with Heartstopper Volume 3 and Heartstopper Volume 4. So these I'm lumping together because they're the same series of graphic novels. So Volume 3 was published, I believe, in 2020, and Volume 4 was published in 2022. And then Volume 5 did come out just before Christmas, so I have also picked that one up, but I have not read it yet. So in Volume 3, make sure I'm holding up the right one here. Volume 3, you are on a journey with the class to Paris. So I really enjoyed that. I love Paris. I have Paris print or art behind me here, but I really loved Heartstopper Volume 3. I love both of them. So the whole series is a coming of age story about different love stories, and the main focus is between 2 boys. And it's just really wholesome, really fun. This has really captured the heart of so many readers. It's very popular. So this is a graphic novel. The art is just stunning. And the author does cover some very sensitive subjects like mental health and eating disorders, but she just covers it in a very honest and sensitive way. This also has been adapted into a TV show on Netflix, and the season 1 and 2 are out already. Season 1 is volumes 1 and 2 of the books. Season 2 is out, and that is volume 3, this one, the one that we go to Paris, so that's fun. And then the next season is season 3, and that comes out sometime this year that it says on IMDb. So you can watch that as well, which is really, really good as well. I have another pair of books that are by the same author in my favorites of the year, and they are by Claire Keegan. So we have Foster and Small Things Like These. Foster was published, I believe, in 2007, and it is about a little girl in Ireland who goes to live with the foster family, and the foster home and family are much warmer and caring than her home. And you just come to love this little girl, and I believe she's an unnamed girl. I was thinking about it, I'm like, I don't think she has a name. And you just get to know her, and it's just heart-wrenching. Just in a short amount of time, these books are really small. And then Small Things Like These was published in 2021. This takes place in 1985 in rural Ireland. It's about a coal merchant named Bill who discovers something really shocking at the convent. This is actually based on true events, which I did not know when I started it, but it is based on true events, and it is just really screaming to be heard. So it's real things that happened in Ireland in the 1980s. So Claire Keegan is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. I loved both of these short books. They really pack a punch in a short amount of time, and I can't wait to see what she releases next. These are high up on my favorites for 2023. Then we have Ordinary Grace by William Kent Krueger. This might be the top favorite. If I had to pick one, this might be it. But this is my first time reading William Kent Krueger, and I had a great time reading this. It's one of those experiences reading it where you will always remember where you were and how you read it. I did listen to this on audio. The audio is fantastic. I did follow along towards the end just because I really wanted to be in it, so I followed along listening to it and reading it at the same time. I even read the last couple paragraphs to my husband because they were that moving for me. This is a mystery that takes place in 1961 in rural Minnesota. I think it's a made-up town. I'm from Minnesota and I do not know the town, but it takes place in 1961, but it is looking back 40 years later. So in 1961, it's about a boy named Frank, 13 at the time in 1961, but it's him looking back on everything that happened. It's a really tragic thing that happened to his family in that year. So it's him looking back 40 years later onto that mystery. So it's so good. The writing is so good. I have since read 2 more William Kent Kruger's books. This is my first one, and they didn't move me as much as this one did. I liked them, but I think that was my own time and place where I was, my own experience. It didn't have anything to do with the book. I definitely want to be reading more of William Kent Kruger's books. I absolutely loved this book. This is A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman, and this was first published in 2012, I believe, and this was my first time reading a Fredrik Backman as well. It's a lot of firsts for me, but I'm not going to stop reading these authors. So since I read this one back in January, I have since read Anxious People, which I did enjoy, and I've also watched the TV adaptation of his book Beartown. The TV adaptation is really, really good. It is in Swedish, so there are subtitles for the English-speaking people. And A Man Called Ove is about a grumpy old man who starts to not become grumpy when he starts to kind of mend some friendships of his neighbors with his neighbors, and also become friends with some new neighbors. And it's about his struggles with losing his wife and how he's dealing with that emotionally. But you come to love this grumpy old man. I've realized that Fredrik Backman can write really kind of not so nice and annoying people, and you still love them because deep down they are good people, and you gather that from his writing. His writing is so good. I really enjoyed Anxious People as well. I have watched the Swedish version of this movie and also the American Hollywood version with Tom Hanks. Both were excellent, highly recommend them. But A Man Called Ove is so good. My next favorite book of 2023 was The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. This is a horror book, but not the kind of horror that I think non-horror readers think. It is a mystery. You don't really know what's going on. You are confused throughout a lot of the book until the end, and you realize, oh, that's what was happening. So it's one of those you kind of want to go back and reread it because now you're in the know and you know what's going on. But I really enjoyed this. Great writing. It had me in suspense. I actually went into this not expecting to enjoy it just based on what I had heard, but I really loved this, and there is even a perspective of the cat, so there's a point of view of the cat in it as well. But this is a mystery horror book. I can't really say too much. I would recommend going into it blind, as I did, and not knowing too much about it. Don't even read the synopsis. But I really enjoyed this one. And then the last book on my favorites of 2023 is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This is my first Neil Gaiman, and it will not be my last. It was amazing. It's about a boy named Nobody. He is actually raised by the ghost in the graveyard, and they educate him and they care for him. So it is an adventure. There's fantasy, there's thrills in it, and you really just have joy for this boy, and it's just so good. And I cannot believe this was my first Neil Gaiman. I don't know what I'm thinking in my reading journey, but this was fantastic. I really love this, and I cannot recommend it enough. I cannot wait. I have collected, I think, 4 other Neil Gaiman books now, so I'm really excited to dig into those this year. I can definitely confidently recommend all of these books to almost any reader. I think you would enjoy them, but let me know down below if you've read any of these or what your favorites were of 2023, and thank you so much for watching and being here.